Hi everyone, welcome to Green Monk TV. My guest on the show today is SAP's Chief Sustainability Officer, Peter Graf. Peter, we were having a quick chat there around some of the employee kind of bottom-up programs that you're rolling out within SAP around your own internal sustainability programs. And one of the ones we were talking about was your focus on the paper reduction. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're running a paper week this week, the beginning of June, the end of June, the beginning of July. And just like the other focus weeks we're running on energy, on cars, on volunteering, this week is focused on a specific topic. And we're hoping to trigger some behavioral change because paper is a big issue in terms of its environmental impact and in terms of its cost. And it's also one thing where really the employees make the ultimate decision on a day-by-day basis whether to print or not to print.
Why does paper have such a big environmental impact? I mean, surely it's recyclable, it biodegrades. What's the issue with paper?
Yeah, paper is a very specific industry, and I originally underestimated the impact of paper and paper production in terms of environmental impact. Paper is the largest water consumer. Paper production is very, very water intense, so it consumes the most water of any industry. The energy you need to put into the process to create paper is similar to that in steel production, so it's incredibly energy intense. If paper is actually put on a landfill and it's actually rotting, it's exhausting methane, which is a very aggressive greenhouse gas. And then obviously there is the double whammy that you're cutting a tree, which is taking carbon out of the atmosphere and instead putting it into a very, very intense, energy intense process, which creates a lot of carbon. Paper is what we've all grown up with, most likely, and we're all used to it. The dream of a paper-free office is, 15 years old? So the challenge here is really driving a behavioral change.
So how do we get to the paperless office from where we are today? What kind of initiatives are you rolling out, or are your employees coming up with?
So I do believe that in any employee engagement, it's not only about providing information, but really making people understand the impact of what their actions actually create. So when we talk to our guys, the usual starter for the conversation is that if you take every sheet of paper that's printed by an employee at SAP in 1 year, and you stack it all on top of each other, you get a mountain or a tower as tall as Mount Everest. 85 million sheets of paper. That sounds crazy, but if you do the math backwards and think about having 50,000 employees and 200 working days, that's only 8.5 sheets of paper a day. The idea here is to really help people understand what the impact is of that. So these 8,500 meters of paper is 10,000 trees, 4 million liters of water, and a ridiculous amount of energy. So that actually creates some awareness because most people underestimate the environmental impact of paper. And then you can give people some relief in giving them clear guidance. The best thing is to avoid printing and to give them intelligent alternatives like scan to fax. So you don't even need to have you have an electric document, you can send that to your fax machine instead of printing it out and then faxing it. Encouraging people to take electronic media to a meeting and not a printout of a PowerPoint presentation. Teaching executives to not ask for a printout, but then actually ask for an electric presentation. Many things. And then that's the behavioral stuff. On the other side, SAP itself has embarked on a couple of things. For example, we used to have a person to printer ratio of 7:1. That means 7 employees had one printer that was dedicated to a team and they could print. We've now taken this to 17:1. So the printers are in the hallway, they're central printers, and they don't print until you go and punch in your PIN. They are standard double-sided default, so you don't even have an easy way to print one page only, or it's double-sided per default. So all those kind of things help, and it's about creating that awareness and a little bit of peer pressure too, to help people understand the impact and then ultimately change behavior. But it's a long journey. It's not happening immediately. And we have our 150 sustainability champions, again, creating that drive across the many locations at which SAP is active. So we're, again, using our sustainability champions, who are people within SAP who volunteer to spend 10% of their time to evangelize and drive the cultural change.
You mentioned it was a focus week on paper. Does that mean at the end of the week people will forget about paper and go back to their old bad habits, or how do you keep pushing that agenda forward?
What we do with these focus weeks, and the same is for energy. A funny thing, by the way, is it's not 1 week, it's actually 2 weeks that we're running this intense communication. What happens is that during this week, specific events happen that have a lasting effect. So when we had Energy Week, we put the solar panels on the roof in Palo Alto. We signed a contract with the Palo Alto utilities to go 100% renewable electricity. We upped our own energy in Germany from 17% renewable to 60% renewable for 2010. So we do all these things where you have the biggest awareness in the company, and then it has a lasting effect. We are now launching a so-called print tracker during Paper Week. So every employee can track per office how much printing is done. And by creating visibility, usually that creates a lasting effect. We've done the same with energy, where if people go to the SAP Sustainability Report online, they can see how we're tracking monthly electricity usage. And that tracker was launched during Energy Week to create the awareness and information about things that are going on. The same happens now with paper. And that creates a lasting effect. And our target for 2009 is very clear, and that target is actually part of the whole compensation pyramid at SAP. So it's actually a KPI that is cascaded throughout the business, which is a 20% reduction in printed paper in 2009.
Do you kind of socialize the paper reduction? Do different teams see how other teams are performing in their paper reduction targets, so as to have a little bit of competition between people?
Yes, we do that on the energy front, and we also do it on the paper front now. As I said, the energy tracker allows us to run that kind of internal competition, but it's between locations, because that's the easiest to track. If you have a shared printer across two teams that happen, one happens to be in consulting, the other one in sales, it would be not feasible to try to sort that out. But if you go on an office by office or location by location perspective, that works well.
Super. Peter, that's great. Good luck with hitting the targets, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tom.